Thank you. And my apologies to everybody for having to move the town hall back a half an hour. Thank you to the People's Town Hall for doing that. I just got off the plane about 20 minutes ago from DC. We had the vote last night. We can talk about all the things going on in DC, but last night was about keeping the government open. And obviously Columbia County and all of Oregon depends on so much in terms of what we're going to talk about this afternoon. We got plenty to walk through. I also, before we go any further, I want to give a big shout out to the paper for giving us a chance to have the program here. They've been terrific, and I'm sitting in their office. And then I want to, in addition to thanking the Spotlight, I also want to thank all of you. It is a gorgeous, drop dead gorgeous day in Columbia County today. We were all just gawking as the plane, came in, and it was pretty at the airport, and got prettier and prettier as we headed to Columbia County. So to come on out and educate me on a gorgeous day like this, when there's plenty of things you could be doing outside, is really what the Oregon way and good citizenship is all about. And this is town hall meeting number 998 in the time that I have had the honor to represent Oregon in the United States Senate. And we will, over the next few days, get to town hall meeting number 1000. And when I said this, everybody said, yeah, right. There's no way he's going to do this. And there were an awful lot of disbelievers, but we said, no. This is about holding government accountable. That's what the People's Town Hall is all about. They'll say, we'll do this town meeting for anybody. We don't care where you are on the political spectrum. We'll do them for anybody. And I just think that this is what government's all about. And I really hope that we'll be able to do these in person very, very soon. There's nothing better than Oregonians coming out and saying their piece, talking about what's important to them. And, for me, the bottom line is basically answering any Oregonian's question, plus sharing every Oregonian's good idea. That is what the Oregon way is all about. So again, big thanks to the Spotlight for giving us a chance to show up and pop open our laptop. And I am in Columbia County, and basic operating procedure for this town hall is the same one as all of the other 997 other town meetings. No topic is off limits. So Nathan, let's go right to hearing what folks in Columbia County want to talk about.
Terrific. And for those watching online, we do hope to have some time near the end of the program to get to your questions as well via the comments. So share those with us. But first, we have Kathy. Kathy, the floor is yours.
Hello, Senator Wyden. It's been a while since we've been able to talk. I'm Kathy Otley, volunteer and cancer survivor with the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network. First of all, I want to thank you for serving your country. You spend so much of your life devoted to us here in Oregon, so thank you. Thank you also for being a longtime supporter of cancer patients, survivors, and their families. And I wanted to just talk to you briefly today about two areas that are really important to us. And it may be that you have an answer because of what happened with the vote last night. The first thing that we're very, very concerned about is the support for the increase in funding for cancer research and prevention programs. As you know, for the health and sustainability of cancer research in our nation, it's critical that Congress, without any further delay, passes the fiscal year 2022 funding bill. The second part of that is the support we need from you for increased access to care for cancer patients by passage of increased ACA subsidies, a federal fix for the Medicaid coverage gap, and a cap on Part D costs as Congress negotiates a way to build back better. Thank you.
Well, Kathy, I guess I should admit that I sure as heck am going to support that cap on out-of-pocket costs for seniors who are dealing with cancer expenses, since I'm the guy who wrote it in the first place. So I guess in the interest of full disclosure, but seriously, your work is so incredibly important. Let's tick off a few of them. In terms of the cancer research funding, I feel very strongly about it. I've been talking to Chairman Leahy about this. He's chairman of the Appropriations Committee. They deal with the expenditures on the public health side. I'm chairman of the Finance Committee. So we do an awful lot of work together. What last night was all about was passing essentially the framework for the budget. Now what we're going to be doing is going back and working through all of the specifics. And I feel very strongly that the programs at the Department of Defense and what's called NCI, the National Cancer Institute at the National Institutes of Health, are dollar for dollar one of the smartest things the government's doing. So I'm definitely planning to be very supportive of the budget you're talking about. And then the two other areas that I think are especially important, you got to fill in the gaps in the ACA, the Affordable Care Act. And I've been the author of that legislation as well in the Senate Finance Committee, and particularly for working families, people who traditionally have sort of been considered in the middle. They have big cancer and health expenses, and they are really up against it. They have real challenges kind of paying for the essentials of families got to have. So I want to make sure that they get additional help through the Affordable Care Act and the programs that are offered through the exchange. Now, one additional thing that you didn't touch on, but I think is we're on our way to lifting the curse that has been the challenge for Medicare. And I call it the curse because there's really no other way to describe it. It's the ban on Medicare negotiating to hold down the cost of medicine. And it has been part of the law for years. The big pharmaceutical people, lobbied like crazy to try to prohibit any effort to negotiate, prices. And, nobody, goes to Costco or, a store and, buys everything item by item. You use your, leverage. We ought to use our leverage for 50 million seniors. In our package with respect to lifting the ban, what I call the curse, we're going to be able to start negotiating over some of the most expensive drugs soon after that bill is passed. Some of the most expensive drugs, as you and your advocates know so well, are the cancer drugs. And so those would be in the first round of negotiation. And I think that's going to bring a lot of hope, to families who, have faced this. As you know, our family has faced it. So we're very up on what the challenge is about. And I so appreciate, I'm looking at your face and I'm seeing you advocate for people who are really hurting. These health expenses hit families like a wrecking ball. It's why I feel so strongly about that out-of-pocket cap on the total amount of expenses that a senior who's getting cancer coverage could incur. Is people can't cover this. And the fact that you're inside on a gorgeous day like this, standing up for people who ought to have a fair shake in the strongest and fairest and best country on earth, it just, to me, it's what Columbia County is all about. And thank you for doing it.
You're welcome, Senator Wyden. And as we know, early detection is early cure. So COVID put so many people out of their regular screenings for cancer, and we're so worried that our deaths and our really severe cancer cases are going to increase without people having access to care. So thank you so much for
Kathy,
pushing that.
Tell me a little something else, since I got you on the phone and you're such a powerful advocate. Are a lot of your folks taking advantage of the telehealth changes that we've been able to get? It started under the CARES Act. It came from the chronic care bill that I wrote with Orrin Hatch before he retired. And Seema Verma was the head of the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services. And she called us up and she said, hey, I'm just going to kind of use what you guys put together. And Chairman Hatch and I both said, yeah, it's a really good fit, and you ought to do it. And my hope would be that particularly after the initial visits. In other words, you do have to see a provider in person for some services relating to cancer. There's no question about it. But some of the ongoing care, clearly, I think, can be addressed through telehealth, what's commonly known as healthcare through the internet and new technologies. I'm just curious, are some of your folks picking up on that and the physicians and providers they use?
I don't have exact numbers, Senator Wyden, but it's a very good question, and I will be happy to check into that for you. I'll see what kind of stats we have here in Oregon, and also I have a connection with our Rural Health Coordinating Council here in Oregon that is very much involved in our rural areas. So I'll get some information for you and send it back out. Yes.
The rural health folks have told me that the telehealth services have been the ballgame, that they couldn't keep their doors open without the telehealth, because as you know, as an advocate, so many of our providers had to give up the elective surgeries, which, as we all know, paid better than a lot of the other services in order to treat COVID patients. And if we hadn't had telehealth to step in and fill that void, we would have really been hurting.
Yes, exactly. Well, thank you so much. It was a great report. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for all you're doing for people. Incredibly
welcome.
important.
Thank you for joining us, Kathy. Next up, we have Paul.
Senator Paul Vogel with the Columbia Economic Team. It's good to see you.
You too, Paul.
I will admit that I might have been in session 1 or 2 of your 998 back in the day. I might have.
You're a recidivist. You have come back again to do good government.
Something like that. I just want to thank you for your commitment to doing this, because many of us wondered if you could, and you have, and we appreciate you doing this. I have one request and one question. Very recently, on the request, we were able to establish Columbia County's first ever small business resource development center with a 4-year runway to take off. Every city, the county, our organization, and private investors are supporting it financially. It'll be the first accredited SBDC in the statewide network that's hosted locally by the community as opposed to a community college. We just hired the director, but 1 full year of that funding is a community project prioritized by Congresswoman Bonamici. It's in the comprehensive appropriations package that you passed the framework for. Knowing how deeply you appreciate the importance of small business, and particularly coming out of the pandemic, we'd request your stewardship and support of that request as the Senate considers and hopefully approves the appropriations package.
Paul, tell me, it sounds like a terrific program, and the Congresswoman has always been a strong advocate for small businesses. Tell me a little more about how it works and why it's been particularly helpful here.
Well, it's just getting going, and we've been in this odd situation where all other SBDCs that are accredited by the SBA, they're associated with community colleges. We're on the outer fringe of PCC's territory, and it just has not worked for them to serve us on kind of a circuit rider basis. So we've just had no representation. Clatsop's got great stuff. Multnomah County's got great stuff. Washington County's got great stuff. We're a growing county. We've got 1,500 small businesses here that have to go to Lloyd Center if they want an SBDC advisor. And so coming out of the pandemic, we seized the opportunity to use ARPA funding to the cities and the county to set up, to give folks boat motors instead of just giving them a fish. And so literally we're operating virtually. The director starts March 1. And it'll be free counseling, free advising to any small business, any nonprofit organization, and access to all of the tools in the statewide OSBDC network.
Well, I'll get with the Congresswoman, and I can tell you that we know what we're dealing with right now. The coronavirus has hit Oregon's small businesses like a wrecking ball. And we are overwhelmingly a small business state. I mean, when you're done counting Intel, Nike, Intel, Nike, a handful of Columbia products. I mean, a handful of big businesses, you're done. You're done with the big businesses in the state of Oregon. You're overwhelmingly a small business state. And I tried to make a special focus of what we did coming right out of the gate, CARES package in the early days, trying to help Columbia County businesses and small businesses across the state get to the other side, basically to keep their doors open. 400 Columbia County businesses took advantage, for example, of PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program. Brought about $30 million directly to Columbia County businesses. Well, you probably remember, after people got the help, there was an effort in Washington, D.C. to take away the deductions for the small business folks in Columbia County and everywhere else associated with this program. And I said to my colleagues, Republicans and Democrats, folks, do you have any idea how much damage what you're doing will involve? I mean, if you force the small businesses who got these tax deductions for their expenses associated with them with the program to lose their deduction, they are going to lay people off. They're going to lay people off right now as they're trying to get back on their feet in order to pay the expenses associated with losing this deduction. It said it just defies common sense. And Charles Grassley, Republican of Iowa, and I saved that. And it was awfully important to small businesses in Columbia County and around the state. The other aspect of this that is so essential is trying to find the anchors going forward for a community. And the small business development centers have been ideal. I mean, Columbia County's got a lot of pieces of the puzzle right now. I mean, manufacturing, you have a large healthcare sector. People are interested in a whole host of natural resources, issues. I really see your small business development center being on the front lines of trying to guide the economic development that you're talking about. And so if there are other programs that you've been interested in, get them to us, but I'm sure that we'll do everything we can to help you with the Small Business Development Center. Back in the day when I was in the House, I was chair of a little small business committee, and we worked so closely with SBDCs, dollar for dollar. They are one of the smart kind of programs because it is the classic Oregon way public-private partnership. SBDCs, modest amount of money, trying to work with these small businesses, whether it was PPP or the economic injury, disaster loans. I mean, a lot of these programs, really were a lifeline. But remember what we were dealing with at the beginning. The Ruth Chris's, the big guys, they were first in line. Man, when they announced all these programs, all those big guys who had all kinds of contacts with the previous administration, I'm not going to get all political, they did really well. And the small business folks, were at the back of the line. And by the second round of the payments, we'd changed that. And getting small business development centers ought to be a priority, and we'll work with you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, we know you well understand it, and we just wanted to put it on your radar screen. Suzanne's been very, very helpful, and now it's in the Senate's hands. And so we just want to let you know it's there, and it'll be huge for our county.
Good. We'll follow it up. Senator Cardin is the Senate Small Business Chairman. He's been talking to me about some of the programs. He and I would both like to, also have the employee retention, plan, which was a program that a lot of Oregon small businesses had. That's something that helps the employer and the worker. And we'll see if we can get some traction for that as well.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for the good.
I'll be quick with my question. It's a little bit different angle, but we're an economic team as it turns out. Over the last year or so, Congress has pushed a lot of money towards strategic infrastructure.
Hang on one second. We may have lost a connection here. Hold on. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
We can hear you, Senator.
Good. Perfect.
pushed a lot of money towards strategic infrastructure and a renewable economy, but hasn't really done anything to remove the regulatory and bureaucratic barriers that hamper development of energy projects. How can money solve the urgent climate crisis when permits can't get through agencies like the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers?
Well,
What are you willing and able to do to help remove these regulatory and bureaucratic barriers?
well, I'll give you an example of one I've been working on just in the last few days. We've got this huge backlog of forest projects, and we've got to prioritize getting that, backlog of forest projects addressed. I mean, these backlogs and this buildup of fuel on the forest floor is just a magnet for fire. I mean, we all know these fires, and every part of the state has been affected by this. They're not your grandfather's fires. They're bigger, they're hotter, they're more powerful, and we have all watched the toll that they've taken on our state. So just in recent days, as we've been trying to go through the beginning of the bipartisan infrastructure law, which really addresses much of what you're talking about, Paul, to have shovel-ready projects and, get the analysis and the review processes shortened and get them out the door and get going. And literally over the last couple of days, what I've been doing is pushing the forestry folks in the administration to get that backlog of forest projects that's already gone through the environmental gauntlet. Let's get them out. We've got no shortage of excellent infrastructure projects in Oregon. They pay good money, and we're going to be hands-on with local elected officials to receive quick and fair consideration. We've got a number of them. I think for example, I was able to get funds for more resilient power systems. And with all the trees that we've had go down in these storms and the like, we've got a chance for another public-private partnership to get these systems up and going. My view is a fair number of them are going to be underground, by the way, that we're going to be looking at some new approaches given the weather challenges. The two I just gave you, getting power systems up and running after storms, cleaning out forest backlogs, they sure make the Paul Vogel point that we got to get through the bureaucratic hoops quicker and in a more focused kind of way, so that people can actually go out and use the money in the BIF, the bipartisan infrastructure fund bill.
Thank you, sir.
Terrific. Thanks for joining us today, Paul. Next up on the phone, we have Cody.
Good afternoon, Senator. This is Cody Orm. I'm just a
you're on the
resident
phone.
of Columbia County.
Good. Okay.
Yes,
Cody.
sir. I'm actually on the phone, hence leading into segue of my questions, which kind of touches base on Paul there, infrastructure-wise. So I'm a rural resident, right? A lot of us are rural out here. Things like internet, simple things that a lot of people enjoy that are luxuries in town, garbage service, just standard things we don't have access to. When we lost schools, people's kids can't go to school. They can't do online either because we don't have the availability for that. Yeah. So again, infrastructure, what are you doing for those of us? Because I feel like those of us who are rurals, voices fall on deaf ears.
Well, first of all, you can't have big league quality of life with little league infrastructure. So the first thing I've focused on is trying to expand broadband. Tell me what your circumstances are with respect to, internet coverage. What town do you actually live in?
I live just outside of Rainier, about halfway between Rainier and Vernonia.
Okay.
So the Apri area.
Do you have any broadband at all?
No, I have satellite is my only option, which is extremely expensive as well as carries a data cap.
Yeah. Well, what I'm going to do is get your phone and email, and we will walk through with you and the people who are in charge of your city how you all can tap some of the broadband money that's in the bipartisan infrastructure bill. There's substantial money there. I said, as chairman of the Senate Finance Committee, I'm not going to let a bill come out of here without a substantial amount of infrastructure money. Now, these funds all traditionally have gone through various layers of government. And what happens is people like yourself in areas that are small and, like you said, you're just, kind of outside town and the like, and between, larger places, you fall between the cracks. So what we're going to do is just walk this through the system. Fritz Graham is sitting here from my office. We're going to be in touch with you and the people who run your city. And that's really the same for a variety of services, broadband, sewers, transportation, improvements. I'm from Portland and I love Portland. I went to school on a basketball scholarship, wished I could have played for the Trailblazers, but I'm not a United States Senator from the state of Portland. I'm a United States Senator to represent every nook and cranny. So if you're willing, the bipartisan infrastructure, bill has substantial funds for the kinds of things you're talking about. And it's my job to walk these dollars through the system. And if you're willing, we'll just kind of make you our guy on the ground and go to work on it.
Hey, thank you, Senator. I appreciate it. And I'm all ears at any time. You guys have my contact info and are welcome to contact me anytime.
Tell me also how much your satellite bill is going up, because I'm also very concerned about price gouging and some of these satellite costs just going through the stratosphere.
I don't know if you want to hear this number, but it's about $190 a month for the best I can possibly get my hands on.
$190 a month. How much was it 6 months ago? You any idea?
It's been the same price. There was nothing at all. I was actually really shocked. This was the only company during the last 2 years of all this craziness that had not reached out to any customers, to my knowledge, had not said anything about, we know your kids need to be able to go to school, well, lift datas or, give you a price break or anything. Nothing, not a single word.
Which company?
This is Viasat.
Good. We'll be in touch, because I'm really concerned about some of these big satellite operations. They really just have people in a position where there isn't anything resembling a competitive marketplace. And I think in a lot of these areas, in terms of healthcare and energy and food, you got these big monopolies, and they really don't have to do anything in the middle of a pandemic because they've got you. They've got you in an anti-competitive situation. And, we're all concerned about inflation, and that's what I'm trying to focus on. I don't know, for example, if you've experienced this, but all over Oregon, small pharmacies are just getting squeezed and squeezed and squeezed some more, to the point where we've lost so many of them. And they're getting right in the middle of a vice between the big insurance companies, gotten to the point where you, as somebody from a small town, if you're going to see, a pharmacy, you pay one bill when you're walking out the door. And then these big insurance companies are called PBMs, pharmaceutical benefit managers. Often they just decide a year later that they're going to stick everybody with more fees, and that means your prices go up. So we're going to be spending a lot of time on the costs of services to people in rural areas, because I just don't think many instances are getting a fair shake. And I think we all understand why. There aren't very many people who live there, and it's a question of political clout. And that's why I'm on this discussion right now, because it's my job to make sure you do have more clout. I'll give you an example. Just a week or so ago, some folks in Toledo, we're in a very difficult, housing situation. The Internal Revenue Service said, well, under the rules, we got to put you all out in the cold. There were like senior citizens, and people with families. They said, we got to put you out in the cold because the guy who used to have the building was, a crook. Now, normally there are, rules for tenant occupied properties and stuff under Oregon law. They didn't have any of that. So within a day, I got the head of the Internal Revenue Service on the phone. I'm the chairman of the Senate Finance Committee. and we got protection for those folks. So this is my job, and we'll do our best to help you, okay?
Hey, thank you again. I appreciate your time. And like I say, I'll just keep it short and sweet. But again, there is quite a few of us rural that are definitely concerned that our voices are not heard. And that's just a small example of one of those out there. So again, thank you for your time, and I appreciate it.
We'll get to work, and I'm a United States Senator to represent the people you're talking about, the rurals. That's where I had the first town meeting. You probably heard we're having 1,000. The first town meeting was in Fossil, which is a town in rural Oregon, part of Wheeler County. And rurals matter to me just like everybody else. So thanks for bringing this up, and we'll look forward to working with you. We're going to just kind of walk some of these through the system and stay at it and get some solutions.
Thanks for joining us, Cody, and we will get you in touch with Senator Wyden's team. Next up, we have Claire.
Hi, Senator and local friends. I'm Claire Catt. Professionally, I'm the Executive Director at the United Way of Columbia County, but probably more importantly is I'm a busy mom of 3 kiddos, both engaged in school and out of school in the St. Helens area. At United Way of Columbia County, we really focus our work on the ALICE families. ALICE families are those families who are asset limited, income constrained, and employed. I myself have been an ALICE mom before, being fully employed with limited resources, and only about 25% of our kiddos have access to safe childcare. I myself have begged strangers to watch my children so I can go to work and put them in probably really unsafe situations. What can you do to help us access more, not only accessible childcare, but affordable childcare for the families that are doing the important work in Columbia County?
Well, three cheers for you, because you've kind of lived through it and you're staying at the task. I can see you've got one of your fans right there with you, in-house kind of lobbyist and advocate for childcare. And there this is a child who adores mom. Look at this. Checking out the phones. Okay, pads. 2 things. With respect to childcare, Claire, you don't hear many Democrats use this word, but I'm a supply sider. I think we got to get more supply. We just flat out have to increase the supply, because there's not enough, which means that jacks up the price when the supply is very limited. So sometimes even when people say, hey, Ron, there's childcare in our community, the families say, yeah, it might be childcare, but I can't afford it. So we start with that. And to me, childcare kind of fits into kind of 2 baskets. One is getting help to people immediately. And for example, I've had churches say, Ron, if you make a small amount of money available, we can take like the basement of our church and we can have affordable childcare for families in a matter of months. Now, that's not going to take care of everything that needs to be done, but there are ideas out there for actually doing something now to help people. Now, in the Build Back Better Act, there's a substantial amount of money, not just in childcare, but also universal pre-K for 3 and 4-year-olds. That would give a lot of kids and families what they need, the kind of foundation for youngsters, and also take the burden off, parents who are trying to do good work as you are, while also taking care of the kiddos and particularly kids 0 to 5. I mean, just these, really youngsters. The evidence is so clear. Either you get there with good childcare and universal pre-K and the like, so that they can grow and learn and get ahead, or you play catch-up ball later on for years when you have all kinds of challenges in school and in the criminal justice system and the like. So we're hoping to get real resources out in kind of the immediate kind of situation, which I just mentioned in terms of pre-K, in terms of churches and the like, and then in terms of increasing supply, I'm going to use tax credits and other kinds of, incentives so that we can get the supply up. Because if we don't get the supply up, we're going to continue with this situation where even if childcare is available, a lot of families are going to say, I'm paying more for childcare than I'm paying for housing. I can't do this. I just have to have some relief. So are there some specific measures in addition to those that are helpful to you?
I think that you had hit it right on, Senator. I think certainly both access and affordability are two different things that we need to talk about. I don't know if you know this, but the community of Clatskanie has one certified daycare center. One is not enough for our communities. I know I also sit on the Rainier Chamber of Commerce board, and we get comments oftentimes with small business owners about being able to retain good employees, because a lot of employees that are working age also have young children. And if those employees don't have great places to send their kids, then they can't make it to work. So I certainly think strong partnerships with business partnerships to also be advocates for this work, because the only way that they can be strong is if we have a robust childcare system.
The other thing that is underway, the Rescue Plan Act, the first big bill, had a significant amount of money going to the states for childcare. And some of that is going to be getting out, and we're going to make sure that it's really targeted to more rural areas, because they've just, in so many of these debates, you heard the gentleman before talking about broadband and sewers and communications. The communities that we're talking about today have very real needs, just like families in more densely populated communities. And that's why I'm doing this, is to make sure that they're not left behind.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today, Claire. Next up, we have Amy.
Thank you, Nathan, for being such a gracious host. Thank you, Senator Wyden, for hearing us. My concern.
Are you on the phone, Amy, or are you out there in cyberspace? Okay, great.
Thank you. My concerns actually take us across the world to Afghanistan. I'm worried with President Biden's decision of splitting the Afghan funds for the families of the victims of 9/11. I hope that those funds can be ensured to the Afghan people that are still owed payment, such as their teachers and nurses and translators that work so hard. Thank you.
Well, I think you're right. I mean, these are basic questions of human rights. And in fact, one of the reasons why Nathan kindly moved everything back a half an hour is the Senate went late into the evening just on the issue of keeping the government open. And then the nominee to head the United States office at the UN with the title of ambassador had been held up. I had to deal with Senator Cruz and a number of other senators who weren't willing to pass it. And so I just basically stayed on the floor of the Senate and I said, look, the UN is going to be starting meetings on human rights on February 28th. And I'm going to stand here until we get this moving, because this is not some abstract, question. These human rights issues in Afghanistan, also around the world, the issue of forced labor, something I felt very strongly about, having written the original, law to step up our effort against forced labor. We've got to make sure that we have the key people in place, and there's just been an effort to hold it up. And the Senate went late, and I stayed later to try to make sure that the kinds of issues you're talking about in terms of basic human rights aren't going to get forgotten on our watch.
Thank you so much for your efforts.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, Amy. Next up, we have Joe.
Senator Wyden, as chairman of the Senate Finance Committee, what are you doing about naked short selling and the abuse of dark pools in the stock markets?
Well, that's largely a function of the Banking Committee, which is chaired by my colleague, Senator Brown. But I can just tell you my general kind of proposition here is that the heart of the problem is there's been so little transparency and so little accountability. And, the Fed has these discussions from time to time, but for the most part, the powerful and the influential are allowed to, just as your question implies, able to take advantage of skimpy oversight and lack of transparency. And they do well while typical people can get hurt. So if you'll give me a kind of more specific question about the things that bother you about, the dark pools and the like, I'll get with Senator Brown, we'll get you an answer, but most of them really don't go to, our committee. This speaks to the banking and Wall Street issues. We have authority over them as it relates to tax policy, and I'm trying to close a lot of, those loopholes. But on the regulatory side, which is really what your question deals with, that's something for the banking committee.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I think Oregon's newest state senator, Senator Rachel Armitage.
Yep, the very one.
Congrats.
Oh my goodness, this is like one senator educating another senator. Senator Armitage, tell us what's going on.
I'm just a state senator over here. Well, first of all, I just want to say hi. I'm Senator Rachel Armitage, State Senate District 16. Columbia County makes up a awfully large part of my district. And before I ask my question, I just wanted to congratulate you ahead of time on your 1000th town hall. The way that you've done that all over Oregon, I think really speaks to how you've made rural Oregonians like the ones in my district feel included in the political process and in DC, and that impact is absolutely invaluable. So I wanted to say congratulations and thank you.
Well, you're kind. And, Rachel, I was thinking because, different elected officials come on, the partnership between the federal and the state government is so unique. For example, Medicaid, hugely important program pays for much of the nursing home bill in the country. We put our CAHOOTS legislation in it. This is the program where we got law enforcement and mental health to go in together in terms of dealing with these situations on the streets. These are all federal, state, programs. Another program that a lot of rural areas care deeply about is secure rural schools, which is money for roads and schools and law enforcement. That money comes to your general fund. So no matter what a county gets, that has real impact on financing. So I'll just look forward to working with you. And how long you been on deck? I mean, tell everybody what you've done in your first stint out of the gate here. It's exciting.
Oh man, well, definitely working on a lot of those projects you just mentioned. We certainly hit the ground running. I have been in office for just about a month now. I was appointed a month ago, and man, it feels like just about half a year. But we're doing a lot of good work in Salem. We're working on everything from infrastructure to housing. There is a big childcare infrastructure package that we're hoping to put in place at the state level. And a big part of the short session, which is what we're doing right now, really does have to do with budgeting. A lot of funds that are coming from DC, a lot of infrastructure. We're also working on broadband, and I really could go on. It's really exciting. One project I did want to bring to your attention that I'm really excited about, and this will lead into my question. Today at just about 8 a.m. this morning, we passed the Cybersecurity Center of Excellence out of the Joint Information Management and Technology Committee, and it's a really cool project. It's we're starting with OSU, University of Oregon, and Portland State University, and it's this center that acts as a resource for our local governments across the state, school boards, clerks, cities and counties, and helps them with their infrastructure, and also acts as a resource if the worst should happen and those cities or counties experience what I will call a really bad cybersecurity day. When the worst happens, there's a ransomware attack or some other sort of local threat. And what I would like to ask is, part one, How can we partner with you in DC to address these issues that affect our local governments? And two, is what's happening in Russia, does that concern you? And how might that impact our local governments, our rural school districts?
Well, couple of things. And first of all, it's so exciting to see a young legislator like yourself really staking out this important ground. I'm on the Intelligence Committee, the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. My older child often says, "Hey, Dad, what's going on your so-called Intelligence Committee?" And then she laughs and says, "I know you can't get into it, or you have me taken away or some such thing." But the point really is, it's a dangerous world. I believe I'm probably known as the Senate's privacy hawk, that security and liberty are not mutually exclusive. Smart policies get you both. Not so smart policies get you less of both. And right at the center of what we need to do is cybersecurity. Because if you ask me what the big threat is for our country, I put cyber right up at the top. And look, I'm not going to get into anything classified. And I think we've all been reading the stories about China and Russia and all kinds of people who very often their leaders, not the person on the street, their leaders do not wish our country well. These are very real, threats. And, let's unpack the ransomware issue. The ransomware issue is critical because particularly small companies and small governments haven't had the funds to go out and put in place the security they need to protect themselves. Well, the bad guys know that. The bad guys basically, the model has not really changed that much from 30, 40 years ago in terms of their motivation. They go out and knock on the windows basically and look for a vulnerability. And those small governments and small businesses don't have the money to make the investments in cybersecurity. And the bad guys say, "Hey, this is perfect for us. Let's just hold them hostage." And they basically level a cyber, attack and tell them, we're gonna go public with all your data and all your information unless you give us, $1 gazillion, which is an exaggeration, but not that much of an exaggeration. So one of the things I'm trying hard to do is really have a two-part package. Number one, I want federal agencies to be serious about making sure that there is basic cybersecurity assistance for the kind of people you're talking about, small governments and small businesses, almost like a best practices where those folks really can know, here's the 1, 2, 3 of what we have to do. And second, I want federal agencies, to step up very specifically, because sometimes when we do those rules, they say, well, we'll get a waiver. We'll get a waiver for 2 years or something. Well, that's not much comfort to the small governmental bodies and small businesses you're talking about. So 3 cheers for you. And you know what I'd like to do? Maybe at some point with the young legislators that are working on cybersecurity down there. I know you're in your special session or something, and we got a week break. Maybe you could set up a little session with some of the young legislators, and I'd love to come. And I do a lot of stuff on technology overall. People say, "Ron, how'd you happen to get into this?" I said, well, I came to the Senate and I said, I'm going to fight like crazy for natural resources jobs. I'm also going to get us into some other things. And the late John McCain was really kind to me. And I told him, I'll follow your lead. And he goes, hell no, you're going to lead it and I'll follow yours. And I was just so privileged to be able to write some of those formative laws on technology, the Internet Tax Freedom Bill, which saves a lot of your small businesses money from what would otherwise be discriminatory internet taxes, and the digital signatures law, which lets your constituents in effect sign in online. They basically sign once at the top and then you just click through. So why don't we do that? I mean, I'm really pleased that the young legislators in Salem are focused on cyber, and I would really enjoy, tell them I'll bring the tuna fish sandwiches and we'll give them a soda and an orange, and we'll have a little session, just kind of kick around some issues.
That'd be great. I would be so happy to get the Millennial Caucus together for you.
You guys have something called the Millennial Caucus?
We do now.
Isn't that great? You Senator Armitage are going to do very well. This is my kind of conversation that you just, hold on, we got to get the connection back here. Hold on. IT is coming to the rescue here because Rachel's point is so important. We just had this conversation. I said I wanted to be involved with the young legislators in Salem like Rachel that are working on cyber, and she said the Millennial Caucus just got formed. That's my kind of stepping up. Look forward to working with you.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us, Rachel. And if you wanna do a town hall, just give us a call. Next up, we have
the Armitage Town Hall on cybersecurity for small rural communities. There's going to be a real need for that.
Oh, 100%. I would love to do that.
Good.
Terrific. Next up, we have Sierra.
Hi there. Thank you, Senator, for having me and answering all their questions in our community. Kind of funny transition because I kind of fit in a little bit with the millennials, or sometimes I'm called the Zoomers, but
Zoomers.
yeah. But kind of part of my question is I'm a young, getting into economic development, and I've been like working with the small business community a lot. And so that's kind of my role with the Keep It Local and Columbia Economic Team and Colpac. And so I've just been helping in the small business community, and I was hoping that you could give me some resources that I could help our small business community with, like opportunities and threats that you see.
Sierra, were you on when Paul was talking about the small business development centers?
I did, yes. Yeah, and I work very closely. I'm actually like one of the part-time employees of the Columbia Economic Team.
Oh, great. Yeah. I mean, I think that what you want to do is just try to build a kind of critical mass, and then we can get together. I mean, just in terms of the programs that we were talking about, already today, the bipartisan infrastructure, bill, that's going to be hugely important. If you guys did nothing else except the nuts and bolts of implementing that would be a huge job winner for Columbia County and for your vendors and all the people associated with all those programs as it relates to forestry and natural resources and healthcare and all of these basic services, all undergirded by broadband, which is so key to rural areas. I'd love to work with you guys on that. And Fritz, Graham is sitting right here. If you guys, the small business advocates with SBDC and others would like to, Fritz will work with you particularly to kind of help you build a critical mass of advocates. So you can take something like the bipartisan infrastructure bill and really say, hey, folks, this is not some pie in the sky deal. This got enacted into law. It is law. I was there when the President of the United States on the lawn of the White House signed it into law. I had Joe Manchin on one side of me and I had a bunch of Republicans on the other side of me. It's law. Let's go out and use Columbia County as a place to make it a real magnet for small business.
Perfect. Is there any other opportunities or threats that you can identify coming for small businesses, especially a rural community like ours?
Well, I do think that if you guys made a commitment to the implementation of the bipartisan infrastructure bill in Columbia County, you would have a significant number of opportunities for small business. I also think, obviously, there are going to be great spin-offs of this. I mean, Columbia County is already playing a bigger role in healthcare. I mean, this is an attractive business and you're helping people and the like. Well, when you do stuff with broadband, you're doing stuff that's going to grow telehealth, which is the law that I wrote and I talked about it here. So I think you play off your strengths, and it's kind of like everything else. When you establish a strength, you keep growing it, and then you go out and find additional strengths without giving up what you're doing.
Thank you. And do you think there's any areas that you think small businesses should watch out for right now or start advocating?
I think what I just touched on, cybersecurity, would be front and center. If you're a business and you haven't put in place Cyber 101 and some bad guys don't like you and want to take advantage of you, I think that's the threat of our time.
Oh, perfect. Well, we plan to do some digital education.
Hack cybersecurity problems, number one.
Sweet.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
for joining us, Sarah. We are up against our hour, but Senator, I'd love to get to at least one question from the Facebook comments if you're
Sure.
I don't know if you're running to the next event. So we have a question about the continuing resolution that just passed. And this constituent asks, should we be concerned about a government shutdown, or will there be a budget passed?
No, I do believe there's going to be a budget. Look, never underestimate the possibility of bedlam when government is in session. I mean, these are challenging times. These are times when very often it's hard to find common ground. This was significant, what was done yesterday, because this really locked people in to saying, we're going to try to have a budget and we're going to use this as the blueprint for getting at the specifics. And, there were a lot of things that could have blown up. I mean, for example, Senator Blackburn said there were people who were going to try to fund, government programs for crack pipes and all these kinds of things. And the reality was there weren't any funds for any of those kinds of related activities. And I think it was good that we were able to get the program through. I mean, obviously, there are going to be plenty of contentious issues with respect to the variant Omicron. And I think probably I'll use this opportunity, Nathan, to just make sure everybody knows my position in terms of what I think is the central question. And that is, I believe as your state's senior senator and somebody who's really tried to specialize in health, I'd like to just say, from my vantage point, it's my strongest hope that everybody who can gets vaccinated. Everybody who can gets vaccinated, because I think that's really important for the community, for families, for schools. It's just going to pay real dividends.
Well, great. Thank you, everyone who participated in the town hall today. Thanks for everybody watching on Facebook and YouTube. If we didn't get to your online question, we are going to be doing several more town halls with Senator Wyden in the next week, including one tomorrow. And that 1,000th town hall will be, I believe, in Lane County on Thursday. So looking forward to celebrating that, but also having another vigorous conversation. Until then, Senator Wyden, you can have the last word.
I'll just tell you, Nathan, this has been so invigorating. I got off the plane and I said to myself, I'm going to make sure I don't fall asleep, when I go and have this town hall meeting. And everybody in Columbia County was so good. We're wrapping up all really invigorated. I mean, there was not a bad comment or question in the House, and everything from small business advocacy and fighting cancer and improving childcare, and Senator Armitage talking about young people and cybersecurity. So I can just tell everybody, still a gorgeous day out. So if everybody can go get their tea or whatever they're drinking at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, get outside and enjoy the fresh air. But Columbia County, you came through once again. Not a bad question in the House, talking about issues that are so important, not just to your county, but to the state. I'm sure there are people who are following online from different parts of Oregon. So once again, you made us all proud, practicing the Oregon way and showing that when you have a good idea and you're sharing it with people. In fact, I didn't hear people really talk about Democrats and Republicans today. We talked about what made sense for the community. And that's what the Oregon way is about. And Nathan, you're absolutely right. Town hall meeting 998 is on the books. And thank you to all the good people, you especially at People's Town Hall, for doing this. And as long as I have the honor to represent Oregon United States Senate,